We're back continuing a conversation with Chancellor Tim White from the CSU system. We were talking about the incredible recognition through Time magazine of our campus and several other campuses in the system. How are we able to give high quality, low cost higher education?
Well, the master plan, which was established in 1960, is sort of the roots of this. But over time, our tuition has gone up as the state has invested less in the California state universities as they have in the University of California. So there's a hydraulic. When the state disinvests, the costs have to be borne by the families and the students themselves. Nonetheless, when you look nationally, our tuition rate, which is about $5,500 plus some fees and, of course, living costs, et cetera, is so below what the average of public universities like ours are across the country. They're reviewed nationally as a value. And the reason that we're able to do that, I think, is that we have built up a financial aid approach using both federal grants and state grants and our own university grants that allow students, regardless of their income level, an opportunity to get into Long Beach State or the other 22 campuses. Yeah. In fact, it's interesting to know that over half of our students, over 50% of 440,000 students, pay zero in tuition and fees because of our financial aid policies.
Really?
And if a student comes, so one of our big talking points that's important is that a family who's of lower income, often they'd say, well, universities are for other people. At the dinner table, at the coffee table when they're in 8th grade or 10th grade. We really want to get the message out that that's not the case. If you come from a family who earns $70,000 a year or less and qualify for financial aid, chances are extremely high that 100% of your tuition and fees will be paid for.
And former President King Alexander, who is really an expert on higher education financing, used to point out that only a third of our students graduate with debt, and that debt is significantly less than the average of debt of graduates of other public institutions. I'm very proud of that fact, how few have that burden.
And it's even more profound when you look across the whole system. If you start at any of the CSUs, only 19% of our students leave with any debt at all. Wow. And it's about almost $16,000. The average for public universities like ours in the nation, the average debt is $58,000.
And you think of private institutions, and you're talking about $50,000 of tuition a year times 4 plus everything else, and we're sending our college kids into life with this albatross of debt.
And so what that means is, somebody who wanted to go teach in the tough schools of Long Beach or Los Angeles to earn a modest salary, or going to go work and that's their passion, but they've got this debt, so they're going to go work somewhere else to earn more money to get out of debt. So the consequence of having high debt burdens, and we're so grateful in the CSU that's not the case typically for our students, is that it not only holds them back from starting life, buying a car, a house, et cetera, but it also directs their career choices away from some of the lower paying, high public value things like teaching and social work, things of that nature.
And some of the enlightened private institutions that are financially able to do this, recognizing that problem, will give debt relief to students to take a job working in Africa or working in the inner city or something. Yes. At a much lesser salary than they could otherwise make.
That's exactly right. And one of the things here in Long Beach that's so nice is so many members of the business community allow our students to be interns during their time and then sort of test drive working there. And I think that's a big piece of way. We often go out and ask people to help us, and they think that means asking for money, and that's really not it. It's really saying, can you help us give real life experiences to our students while they're studying business or chemistry and help your business at the same time?
And having a major institution in the city of Long Beach, like Long Beach State, is a great advantage to the city, and having a really strong city is a great advantage to the university. And that partnership now has worked for many years and continues to grow. And our mayor-elect, Robert Garcia, is a former Long Beach State student, former AS president, and he knows only too well the value of this relationship.
No, with Robert as the incoming mayor, with Jane Close Connolly coming in, who comes out of the world of education. She was the dean of education for many years at the UC Santa Barbara. I know her very well. She came into UC Riverside when I left to become chancellor, so she was in that community for about a year and really proved her worth. So I think the stars have aligned for a continuing bright future for Long Beach State.
Well, let's talk for a moment about the elephant in the room, and you referenced this earlier about the withdrawal of state funding for higher education. One of the consequences of that is, and President Para pointed this out in our interview with him, that the faculty have had no salary increases for the last 4 or 5 years, and so this thing is being balanced on the back of hardworking faculty and staff. How do you, and looking to the future, let's open it up a bit. How do we get the state to see that that cutting back on the support of higher education is a bad solution? Don mentioned that we get $4.33 for every dollar invested in higher education, and I like personally the slogan, and it's more than a slogan, I think it's a truth. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Try ignorance. Well, you know, you're right. I mean, the recession hit every business in Long Beach and in California, across the nation. We were not immune. Our university system lost $1 billion, that's with a B, out of a $3 billion state appropriation. And so any business that loses a third of its revenue overnight, basically, and to stay in business is a pretty good place.
Yes.
And so we unfortunately had to raise tuition dramatically, the trustees did, but that only recovered about half of the amount of money that was cut. So in today's political environment and economic environment, we're starting to systematically, the state's starting to systematically invest again little chunks of money. But remember, we're digging out of a $500 million hole. We're grateful for this year to have had a $140 million increase. And again, next year, our conversation as we speak, taping this show, is to add to that as well. But the truth of the matter is, we have today, compared to 2009 and 10, we have more students, 7% fewer faculty and staff, and we're graduating more students than ever before. So we're, you know, people who say we haven't picked up our game, the facts get in the way of that, because we have picked up our game, and much to the credit of the staff and the faculty, and unfortunately the students and their families who've had to pay the burden. I'm
so impressed with the fact that here at Long Beach State, we had 83,000 applications last year for 6,000 places. Everyone wants to come to the beach. I'm a little partial. I know you love all of your children, all 23 campuses, but we think we have a pretty good thing going here.
Well, it's a wonderful thing going, and California needs all of the 23 campuses to blossom. You know, across the system, there were 760,000 applications to attend, and we are going to turn away lots of qualified Californians, and that's our discussion in Sacramento right now, is how do we build capacity? We're using more technology, we're cutting costs, we're combining with the University of California on purchases so we can lower the per unit cost for paper pads and computers, et cetera. It means a lot of things we're trying to do to be more effective and efficient, but the truth of the matter is, to your point, the cost to California isn't investing in Cal State University. The cost to California is to not invest, because then there will be higher social services costs, higher use of the criminal justice system. There will be less revenue in taxes, revenue foregone, because jobs are at a lower rate rather than a higher rate. There'll be fewer inventions that spin off brand new, innovative entrepreneurial companies. And we will start, actually, the nation state of California will start being at risk in the global economy of going down, and that's the crisis that confronts us.
Many believe, including myself, that the economic miracle historically, which is California, was a function of the availability of high quality, low cost higher education under the master plan that you were able to enjoy.
It lifted and launched me not only last,
that's right.
Last millennium, it was last, in the 60s, and I think it's a three-legged stool. And the ability for students to migrate among the sectors depending on their life circumstances and their interests is absolutely critical. And so many developing countries and developed countries come to California to study our higher education system and go back to their country and are building exactly what we have here. It's really sad to see a political decisions to disinvest in this great structure.
And you pointed out that despite these constraints, the system has increased the number of graduates, but still, like our campus, 80,000 plus applied, only 6,000 get in. Those 75,000 that didn't get in, if they got in or got an equivalent education in 4 years or 5 years, they would be eligible for a high-paying job that would generate taxes that would come back to the system, and there you go. So
that's the ecosystem. You know, you may be very interested to know, Art, that 1 in 10 people in California who are employed are a graduate of the California State University.
Wow.
10% of our workforce. Nobody else can say that. And this next year, we're going to have our 3 millionth graduate.
Write your senator, write your assembly person, tell them to support higher education. That's the message of this segment. And we'll be back after these messages.
How do you like your chances the rest of the way?
I got no idea. But I do know that if we stay with Naples Rib Company, at least we won't go hungry.
Coach, what do you think about some of those questionable calls tonight?
Oh, yeah, but if you want a sound call, I'd call Naples Rib Company. You can't miss on that call.
Then Naples Rib Company is part of your game plan?
There really is nothing more motivating than a great barbecue meal at Naples Rib Company.
Victory or not, Naples Rib Company, great game plan.
Founded in 1976, Polly's Gourmet Coffee is Southern California's most complete gourmet coffee store. Polly's has the best tasting coffee, freshly roasted every day right in the store, plus a wide selection of teas, an in-house bakery, espresso bar, patio dining, and more. We also offer Wi-Fi, free internet access for all of our customers. Our nationwide clientele agree when it comes to coffee, there's only one name to remember, Polly's, 4606 East 2nd Street, welcoming you into Belmont Shore.
When I was a boy growing up in Italy, I had a dream to own my own store. I came to the United States and I worked hard as a tailor. Hi, I'm Umberto. I've been in Long Beach since 1960, carrying the finest quality men's clothing. Italy's a long way away, but styles are just around the corner. Umberto, 2141 Bellflower, Long Beach.
Who needs this modern world? I can live just fine out here without the road rage and boy bands. Of course, I might miss my Charter HD with football on ESPN and Walking Dead on AMC. ESPN and AMC. And, well, Shark Week on Discovery HD. But that's all. AMC, ESPN, Discovery, TBS, and Comedy Central HD. But that's it. Except for HBO HD.
Charter now has over 100 HD channels and more brilliant HD shows on demand than ever.